Hi, welcome to Mystery Files. It's me again.
Okay.
This is the show where we take a deep dive into cases that span from the creepy to the truly bizarre and everything in between. I'm Shane, and today I'll be forcing my colleague Ryan to learn, not forcing, inviting my colleague Ryan to learn all about the disappearance of the princes in the tower. In the end, you'll have to decide whether the case is solved or if it's simply a mystery.
Wow.
There's going to be a lot of historical figures in this one. If you have questions, just ask.
I have a lot of questions. So who are the princes? Why are they in a tower?
Right.
Are they being kept there against their will?
Well,
is there a dragon?
No, these are good questions. I know I said ask any questions that you have. I think let's pump the brakes on all of that, and then we'll do the questions as they come up.
Okay.
When you're learning.
You do that, I'll pump away over here.
Do pump. Picture this. It's a warm June day in 1483. Two brothers, 10 and 13, play on the lush green lawn of the Tower of London. Wow. You know the Tower of London, Ryan?
That's crazy, 1483.
Have you been to the Tower of London?
I've been outside of it. I haven't gone in there and seen the jewel.
The first time we went to England to do ghost hunting for Unsolved, we stayed very close to the Tower of
We
London.
took a picture in front of it, you and
We
I.
did.
Like a prom post from my recollection.
Hidden behind the fortress's walls, the boys are supposedly being kept safe until the eldest's coronation ceremony in a few days' time. Did you hear what I said about the brothers? Were you paying attention to that?
You said they were, no, actually I don't remember.
Okay, there was sort of a fog in your eyes, and I was like, I don't think he knows which boys I'm talking about.
Yeah, I was just thinking about, damn, 1483, that's old.
Okay, so 1483.
It's older than America!
Yes, a June day, 1483, two brothers, 10 and 13, write that down. Two brothers, June 1483.
Okay, really.
Tower of London.
Okay, Tower of... This is really big teacher energy you're giving me.
Well, I said one sentence and you didn't glean any details from it.
That's how I did it in school.
Okay, great. So two boys playing on the lawn of the Tower of London. Hidden behind the fortress's walls, these boys are supposedly being kept safe.
Safe.
Until the eldest boy's coronation ceremony in a few days' time.
And then they kill the younger boy.
No.
Okay, don't kill the younger boy.
That would suggest that the older boy then is in line to be king.
The best boy.
Sure, oldest boy.
So in your case, your brother would be king and you would be killed.
Mm-hmm.
Great.
And in your case, Jake would be killed.
Whew, if only.
Oh. This is the last time the angelic-faced young princes are reportedly ever seen. The boy's uncle is crowned instead.
I see.
And this is the mysterious case of the princes in the tower. Is your interest piqued, mon frère?
It is peaked. They're not even reading that, too.
Well, I think they were sort of like, hey, look up here, taking a picture.
They probably just gave them a book.
Yeah.
Or like, use this as a prop.
They're probably illiterate, you know, inbred. They're royalty.
That's true, that's true.
Know?
Yeah, that's
Their
true.
bones probably are all fucked up.
Yeah.
I don't know which lineage they're part of, but so many of those, you know.
It all kind of traces back to one, though, doesn't it?
Yeah, probably, yeah. A lot of cousin fucking.
That's right.
Okay, well, clearly there's an exciting mystery bubbling, but what's going on here? We need some historical context, don't we, Ryan? So let's take it back to the beginning.
Even further, wow.
Yeah, let's take it back to the conflict, the War of the Roses. 30 years of civil war during which the houses of Lancaster and York battled for the English throne. Both houses raised their swords and banners. There was, of course, the White Rose of York and the Red Rose of Lancaster. Each claimed their right as descendants of King Edward III, who had died 78 years prior, leaving 7 sons and 5 daughters to duke it out.
Very good. You're very proud of yourself.
It's messy to have a lot of kids when you're a king, because they're all going to be clawing for that crown.
Succession, if you will.
Exactly right.
30 years of war is a long time.
It's a long time.
That's longer than any war we've had in general, let alone with ourselves.
Yeah, I guess so.
That's kind of crazy. How could you fight for that long?
I don't know.
How do you have anything left after 30 years?
They didn't have anything better to do.
Beating the shit out of each other. Imagine fighting somebody for 30 years.
They had nothing better to do.
That's crazy. And the roses, they're referring to people?
Those were their banners.
Oh, I see.
Now, Edward IV, House of York, future father of the disappeared princes, is proclaimed king on March 4th, 1461, after imprisoning his Lancasterian rival, Henry VI, in the Tower of London. Now, the early years of Edward IV's rule were marked by violence and tumult as he struggled to maintain his throne. But love prevails! In the summer of 1464, Edward IV married Elizabeth Woodville, ooh la la, an exceptionally beautiful widow with no title but 2 sons from her first marriage. The match was not ideal from a diplomatic standpoint, but the lady reportedly stood on business.
Okay, how's that?
Refusing to be the king's mistress. So, a secret wedding was his only option. He needed court advisors to stay out of it. Notably, her genteel family, the Woodvilles, were staunch supporters of the enemy Lancasters. It is unknown whether the color scheme for the flowers at the star-crossed secret wedding was red or white.
Good for her, making sure that it was legitimate before they do any hanky-panky.
But sort of in a way that seems like they did have to skirt some social norms and maybe have like a secret wedding. So.
Well, I mean, she just respects herself. I'm not gonna be your mistress. I'll be your wife. You put a ring on it.
Yeah.
I like that.
I mean, clearly they're going through a period in history where there is a lot of discussion about who has the right to the throne.
I see.
So you could see maybe how having a secret wedding might be tricky going forward.
Yeah, because he's got those royal balls, right?
Right, he's the king. And if those royal children are from a secret wedding, well, it's a little tricky, isn't it?
I suppose so.
Now, in their first few years of marriage, they had 3 daughters. But by the grace of God, their first son was finally born on November 2nd, 1470 at Westminster Abbey. And in 13 short years, Edward V would become our notoriously disappeared 2-month king. Look at this happy boy. He kind of looks like Mac and me.
I was gonna say, this is the only portrait they have of him.
Ooh!
What's going on with this artist? This is the best they got?
I bet this is like a detail that's like that big in a huge painting. So they're probably just like,
Yeah, but I've
put some
seen
lines
like
on it.
Renaissance still art that looks really like photorealistic.
Well, they're trying their best, you know?
All these people look like Tim Burton characters.
A little bit, yeah. Now, even for a prince, it was crazy to be born inside England's most iconic cathedral, where 18 monarchs and Charles Darwin are now buried. In unprecedented circumstances, pregnant Elizabeth sought sanctuary in Westminster Abbey. Her husband was momentarily deposed, living in Flanders in exile. A coup had been staged. King Edward IV's enemies freed Henry VI from years of confinement in the Tower of London and recrowned him.
Why was he in prison?
He was one of the people who was competing for the crown, so they locked him up.
Oh.
But his supporters were like, get him out of there, he's the real king.
So if you lose the election, I suppose, you get thrown in prison?
They don't have elections, that's the whole thing, it's succession.
I see.
It's, you know,
I see.
but they're, you know, it wasn't election so much as just arguing over like, no, he has the right to the crown.
Gotcha.
You know? At the moment of Edward V's birth, the Bloody War of the Roses was raging. The War of the Roses, I think, a big inspiration for Game of Thrones.
That makes sense.
Does that make sense to you? I'm trying to make it cool for you.
Oh, yeah, and then crowning a king from prison
Khaleesi.
is a rich tradition we're repeating now.
Ooh. Ooh. Yeah. Okay. By the next year, Edward's father vanquished his enemies on the battlefield, capturing his rival and killing the usurper's son.
Damn.
I mean, you gotta, you know?
Yeah, you gotta do it, you know.
You know, if the usurper is like, I've got the right to the throne, you kill the usurper, then his son's gonna be like, I've got the right to the throne.
Yeah.
So, gotta knock them all out of there.
That's right. One fell swoop.
Now, Henry VI reportedly died of melancholy shortly after, though some suspected foul play. Probably.
Yeah, probably.
How you doing on the history? Is this tracking for you?
Sure.
Are you taking notes?
No.
That might help.
Probably would help, but.
Why don't you draw a little family tree? Edward IV.
Okay.
That's the family tree? You drew that so... Okay, you just drew a little tree. Okay. What else does it say above that?
Don't kill. That was a note that I took earlier.
It's a note for yourself.
Yeah.
To remind yourself what is morally right in this world.
Well, I just saw a journal in front of me and I just went into autopilot, what I normally write.
Don't kill. Now, meanwhile, the newly reinstated monarch proudly proclaimed his own firstborn, Edward V, the Prince of Wales. The now 7-month-old was bequeathed the title given to the male heir apparent. So, Edward V.
Yes.
Add that to your family tree. Of course, peace was not guaranteed. Edward V was sent to Ludlow Castle in Wales, isolated for his own protection. The young prince's small court was made up of over 50 people, including his own confessor, chaplains, physicians, other aristocrats, and his poor, perpetually pregnant mother. She had 5 more babies in a dozen years after him.
Yikes.
That's busy.
That's a lot.
That's a lot.
Not a lot of time to not be pregnant there. That's tough.
No, 12 years. You get some breaks, I guess. 5 and 12 years.
Take a quick breather.
A few years in there.
Get back at it.
Yeah, okay. Edward's father suddenly died on April 9th, 1483. Just 12 years old, Edward V was now king.
He looks terrified about it.
Yeah, he's not happy. Maybe he knows what's coming.
Oh shit, they're gonna put me in a tower.
Now, that is the face of a boy who knows he's about to be put in a tower. Oh?
No!
His younger brother, Richard, the newly appointed Duke of York, aged 9, was next in the line of succession and heir presumptive. Now, in his will, Edward IV had named his own younger brother, Richard, Duke of Gloucester. So I know this is a little confusing, but the dead king had a younger brother named Richard. Now, Edward also has his own children, the princes, named Edward and younger brother Richard. It's a little confusing, but you get it. It's like when you have like a king regent or something.
Yeah, I don't know any of these titles. Like Lord Protector, that means nothing to me. I don't know what that means.
It's basically just saying, okay, well, my little son is going to be king, so people are going to want to kill him.
I see.
His life will probably be in danger, and he'll have to do a lot that is, over his head. So I say, hey, brother, my dear brother, can you look after my boy after I die?
Okay, so this is basically Lion King then.
Yes, actually. Yeah, kinda. Simba have no brother.
Yeah, but Scar is the guy who was like...
I guess Simba have Nala.
He sure did.
Yeah.
He sure did. I'm guessing this guy is Scar. He's probably gonna kill...
This guy?
Yeah.
This Severus Snape looking motherfucker?
Yeah, I mean, they all have the same...
You think this guy's capable of doing nasty stuff?
I mean, all these guys are...
Yeah, but this guy looks straight up nasty. He's like... Hello.
These guys are all throwing
Hey,
crazy.
Richard, I got a favor to ask of you. What is it?
Is there anybody in these families who doesn't want to be king?
No, I mean, it's probably what you're going for, in that time. If you're like even slightly removed from it at the time, it's probably in your best interest to kill whoever you got to kill to get that.
Or just, be a duke and have a castle and land. Why the hell would you want to be king? Everyone has to talk to you, all that yapping. You could just be like...
Just chilling in a chateau somewhere.
That's right.
That sounds nice.
Playing that fucking game that people have with the mallet and the ball.
Croquet!
There you go.
I played croquet.
I'm sure you have.
Growing up. So as we were saying, in his will, Edward IV had named his own younger brother, Richard, Duke of Gloucester, to serve his son in the role of Lord Protector. He trusted that as the head of state, his brother would essentially have the power to help nurture Edward, helping him rule wisely until he was of age. But Edward's mother, knowing she was greatly disliked by the Duke, attempted to replace him. See, Elizabeth granted a few too unwarranted promotions to her own family members, many of whom were still Lancaster loyalists, making her unpopular amongst the York court, especially her brother-in-law, Richard. He don't like what he sees here.
Angry little man.
Trying to contain the fallout, the Woodvilles didn't send word of the king's death to Richard until Elizabeth had already called for a regency council to aid her son rather than a Lord Protector. She's like, oh fuck, I know the king wanted his brother to look after these boys, but I'm gonna get this little council to look after him. Then we'll tell him the king died. So by the time he hears about it, she's already got it like, hey, don't worry about it.
So she already doesn't trust this guy.
She does not trust him.
Because he's Scar.
That is Scar. And she is, Sarabi?
I think that's the name.
Sarabi! Yeah. I had to hear it in Scar's voice.
That's right.
Now, when the Duke of Gloucester discovered the moves against him, he rushed to his nephew and the royal retinue, journeying from Wales, as if to help escort him personally. The Duke's motives? A little murky. Oh, I've got it.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Don't worry, I'll protect the boy.
Oh, escort them to hell.
Yeah. Upon meeting up with the party, he had Edward's half-brother, Richard Grey, and his uncle, Anthony Woodville, arrested and executed.
I see. Just tying up loose ends, right?
These are all Woodvilles, so these are the people he doesn't like from the wife's family.
Oh, so he's just killing this guy for sport then, just because I don't like you.
No, he's killing them because they're part of the crew that is watching the boys that the wife put in place.
Gotcha.
Pretty clear that he's not a big fan of the Woodvilles.
I wonder what he's up to.
Sensing a change in the winds, Elizabeth took sanctuary at Westminster Abbey again and tried to have the boy king brought to her. Alas, the prince's uncle had, in fact, escorted her sons personally to London, specifically the Tower of London, which was conveniently both a prison and a royal residence.
Why are these boys away from her anyway? Why not just keep them around? Don't send your kids away.
So you want to blame, in this situation where this nasty man is trying to kill these boys, you want to blame the woman here?
I'm gonna blame the family.
Okay.
Just feels like the parents should have the kids in the house. Then you don't have to check FedEx tracking to see what your kid's at.
That's a good call.
You know, everyone in this story probably sucks.
These royals, they don't know what they're doing. They never have, they never will.
Now she just has to sit there looking out of a church window hoping
Where are my boys?
that a wagon pulls up with their
Oh, boys! Very convenient that it's both a royal residence and a prison.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm just taking the boys over to the tower.
Yeah.
Royals live there. It's also a prison.
Yes.
Well, don't worry about that.
Well, I was thinking more, it's like, yeah, they could be prisoners, but then also it's security purposes. Like if it's a prison, it's probably hard to get into and out of.
Yeah.
Good strategic location or on a moat.
That's right.
Visibility walls.
It's on the River Thames.
Yeah.
Now, it was not uncommon for kings awaiting coronation to stay at the tower until the ceremony. Many royals had done so before. The princes being there made sense, at least until Edward was crowned, which was scheduled for June 22nd, 1483. Now, Parliament got so far as minting new coins.
Okay.
What are you smiling?
It's a funny thing to have a little boy's face on a coin.
That's a real coin.
How many?
You didn't Photoshop
How much
that.
for this bagel? 5 boys? I got five. I got 5 boys right here. Here we go. 5 boys, a good deal. He's on sale.
Ryan, I like that a lot.
It's very fun.
You get a history point.
Well, that's not that show.
So they were minting new coins before the Duke of Gloucester's scheming came back into play. He began by imprisoning and executing his enemies, which now included his older brother's most loyal supporters and most of his sister-in-law's family. Jesus Christ.
Phew. Someone's making moves.
What's the point?
Well,
all the scheming and killing just so that when you're in the throne, someone else behind you could do all the scheming and killing to get to you. Being the king in this time kind of feels like being in first place in Mario Kart.
this motherfucker's gonna have a blue shell on his ass.
You're gonna get fucked by shells and items the entire game. You don't want to be in first place. You want to be in
be in
second,
second place.
or third,
Yeah.
and then you fuck the guy in first place and then get it at the end.
I mean, that's kind of what he's doing, though.
But now he's in first, and there's so much more race left.
So you're saying you should just be a duke?
Yeah,
Chill-
be
chill
power
in the
adjacent.
Yeah.
All the scheming to get schemed on just feels like a waste of energy.
I think, like, if you're English, the thing you want to be Elton John.
That's true.
You know?
He played Dodger Stadium a
He played
bunch
Dodger
of times.
Stadium. He doesn't even write his own songs. He's got a guy for that.
You don't want to be Alan John. You want to be Bernie Taupin. That's who you want to be.
Oh, because no one's gonna try to assassinate
That's
Bernie
right.
Taupin.
No one even knows who the fuck he is.
But Elton John's got the crosshairs on him.
I don't think I could identify Bernie Taupin in a picture.
I could.
You could?
I've got a commemorative Bernie Taupin coin at home that I have on display.
Is that true?
No.
Oh.
Next, the Duke began a campaign questioning the prince's legitimacy. In fact, the legitimacy of their parents' entire marriage. Richard's argument? Well, his brother had once had a marriage contract with another woman. It was an obscure loophole of medieval law, as Edward had once bedded a Lady Eleanor Butler and insinuated intentions amounting to "I do." Plus, Elizabeth and Edward IV had married in secret, so who could prove it was even real? None of the king's ministers were present, and there was no official announcement. All right, that brings us to Dominic Mancini, a minor Italian diplomat who chronicled his time at Edward's court extensively. He wrote that the princes, while at the Tower, were secluded to their rooms. He noted seeing them less and less until they disappeared altogether. His records indicate that the boys were transferred to the White Tower, where royal prisoners were usually held within the tower walls. What are you smiling about?
It's just funny that just a random Italian guy pops up in the story. He's
Yeah.
a reporter. Can I get a quote?
Where are the boys?
Can I get a quote
Show
for the
me your
paper?
boys.
I apologize.
No, I think that's a very respectful interpretation of Italian people.
That's what he said with his little recorder.
Where are the little boys? On June 16th, 1483, one of the last sweet days of spring, the Great Chronicle of London reported that the young princes were seen shooting arrows and playing in the garden of the Tower.
Is there any picture of these two boys where they don't look like they've seen a ghost?
I think a lot of the depictions of them are informed by the context of the grisly disappearance.
Every picture of them is like, I'm about to die right now.
Yeah.
Tough to be a royal boy.
Hey, if you're enjoying this episode and want to do some fan art, just draw the boys playing with bows and arrows on the Tower lawn.
Like the kids in Inception.
Show them playing Roblox on their iPhone.
Yeah.
That'd be funny. Is Roblox on iPhone? What is Roblox?
I don't know what that is. I don't know why you said that.
Okay, where were we? So this is the last time the boys were ever seen.
Yeah. It looks like it. It looks like the killer walked in the door at this moment and they snapped a picture.
So by July 6th, 1483, their uncle was crowned King Richard III, roughly 3 months after the prince's placement in the Tower. So he did it.
Yeah.
One day the princes were in the Tower, the next they were gone. Someone made the boys disappear hastily sometime during the summer of 1483. But who? And how? Well, I think it's Corkin time.
Oh man, tough to disappear after 4th of July.
Well, they didn't have that then.
It predates that by about 300 years. But
Wouldn't it be crazy if someone was celebrating it in London? You're like, 4th of July.
what are you doing?
You guys are gonna love it.
Don't worry for the future. Here's a hot dog.
Okay, Corkin time. Now, before we get into our theories here, what do you think happened to the princes, Ryan? Knowing what you know and based on your extensive notes.
I'm consulting the family tree. I think their uncle took them to the top and threw them off it.
Okay, that would be
they went
quite a public display of murder.
They went screaming and fell onto the pavement below and exploded.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's get into it. Now, theory 1. Richard III, as you have just said.
Oh, Dick.
Now, this is, of course, the clear, obvious frontrunner here. Many believe that the princes were murdered, and it was quietly orchestrated by their uncle, the Duke of Gloucester, aka King Richard III. Now, because he'd already taken out his greatest enemies, no one raised questions publicly. There are reportedly no documents from Richard III's reign indicating allegations or even rumors connected to the prince's death.
He did kill a bunch of people, though.
He did kill a bunch of people.
Yeah, there's like a fucking kill list right there.
Yeah, those are all the people he killed.
If I had a list that said people killed by Ryan Bergara, there'd be no bullet points on it.
No.
Wait, did they know he killed all those people back in the day, or we know that now?
I mean, most of these seem to be pretty confirmed. You know, I encourage you at home, if you find this case interesting, read some books about it. It's always fun.
It's just crazy that we know he killed those people and he wasn't in jail.
I think kings did a lot of that back in the day. If you had power, you could kill people and probably get away with it.
Maybe that's why people wanted to be king. Unlimited killing.
I think that's part of it, yeah. Now, it's technically possible that the boy's uncle spared them, maybe kept them quietly imprisoned or sent them far away. At a minimum, he needed the boys to remain anonymous since knowledge of their existence could incite rebellion, both from York and Lancaster loyalists. King Richard III had fucked with all parties.
Yes.
But just 2 years later, in 1485, Henry Tudor took the crown and became Henry VII, first of the infamous Tudor monarchs. Now, his parliament painted Richard III as a villain to credit Henry VII's heroism and legitimacy. Now, Chancellor Sir Thomas More, seen here, looking very similar to everyone else we've talked about.
Correct.
Now, he is a Tudor propagandist. He described Richard III as physically deformed, an outward manifestation of his villainous ways. Now, More was only a child at the time of the prince's murder, but he suggested to know for certain that Richard had ordered 2 servants to murder the boys. And trigger warning, because we're going to talk about children being murdered, as we've been discussing for this entire episode.
I was going to say, that's kind of late.
It's going to get more detailed right now. Quote, the innocent children laying in their beds, Miles Forrest and John Dighton, about midnight, came into the chamber and suddenly lapped them up among the clothes, so bewrapped them and entangled them, keeping down by force the featherbed and pillows hard unto their mouths, that within a while smothered and stifled, they gave up to God their innocent souls. Grim.
All right.
It's a very poetic way to talk about children being killed.
But this theory also is just Richard III is either hiding them somewhere or
Which is a nice thought.
Yeah, he seems like a sympathetic, very sensible guy, given his kill list.
Yeah, I mean, we hope that he just was like, all right, go off to
Is that William Shakespeare?
Spain or something.
Why is Bill Shakespeare on the board?
Well, right.
He killed William Shakespeare?
He killed William Shakespeare? No. Well, Moore wasn't the only one to portray Richard III in a negative light. Shakespeare, yes, Shakespeare, Ryan, you recognized him, that's good. Shakespeare, with the infamous Tudor Queen Elizabeth I as a patron of the arts, portrayed Richard III as a hunchback, a literally twisted evil usurper, and the only of his plays that is a history, but is also considered canonically a tragedy. The Tragedy of Richard III.
Yeah, just like Bill.
That's Bill.
That's Bill, he writes.
Bill did a lot of writing.
He did a lot of writing. How many plays did he write a year?
I think it was like old Hollywood where he
was just
write
cranking them
60 plays a year. I think he's got like 6,000 plays to his name.
He's like Stephen King.
Yeah. Now, when the bones of what is believed to be Richard III's skeleton were dug up in London in 2012,
Yikes.
do you remember that? They found him under like a parking lot. They were like, what's all this? And it was Richard III.
Because
they believe.
They had like a crown on the skeleton?
Yeah, he had a crown.
And he had two children's skulls in his hands like
They showed he suffered severe scoliosis since adolescence. His right shoulder was higher than his left, his torso short compared to his limbs. His spine had a pronounced rightward curve between 65 and 85 degrees.
Damn.
So yeah, I guess an accurate portrayal of him if that is in fact his skeleton. Now, Ryan, before we move on to the other theories, we've got a fun exercise we want to do here. So, Brittany, do you mind bringing in our visual aid here? Ryan, if you thank you.
Another visual aid?
Yes, of course. Thank you, Brittany. That's perfect.
Oh, yeah, I forgot. I
did ask you.
This family tree.
How's this? Can we see this? Is that
I did.
nice? So here we have the Ryan B. family tree.
Yeah.
And the question that we're faced with today is that if you were in line to become king, who in your family would kill you? We've got a lot to consider here. Now, always nice to see Carter.
Always nice to see Carter.
But would it always be nice? Now, of course, there's Jake. And we had to Photoshop a smile onto Jake here because I've never seen him smile in my entire life.
He's a stoic boy.
Yeah.
I don't think Jake has it in him. He'd never kill me. Him and I have a great relationship.
Do you really?
Yeah. I'd never kill Jake and he'd never kill me. That's a great relationship.
Hey, I love Jake. Jake's a great guy, funny guy. He has the demeanor of a killer.
He's the demeanor of a cat, really, to me. He's like a cat and I'm more like a dog.
Yeah. Do you have any uncles that you think might have it in them?
I don't think so.
Okay, you have to pick one.
It's gotta be Jake.
It's gotta be Jake.
He'd be the only one, but he wouldn't do it.
He wouldn't do it.
I'd be safe.
But if we had to pick one,
it would be Jake.
It would be Jake.
Yes.
That was my thought too. And Jake is not gonna do that. He's a dentist.
Well, he probably could kill me.
He could with his dentist tools. Ryan, why don't you just lay back?
Actually, I had to get the drill recently, and my dad was doing it, and then my brother was like, let me do it. The way he said that did strike a little fear in my heart because he was too excited to do it, but he also just likes doing that. There was a little smile on his face as he was drilling me.
Do you when he was drilling? Okay. Well, good to know. Thanks for sharing that.
You're welcome. I'm sure that
that was very illuminating. Okay, let's move on to theory 2. That was really fun. Thanks for participating. Theory 2. Someone with a motive. That's very broad. But it's also possible that Richard III outsourced his dirty work. Now, some point to John Howard.
Hey, this is so cute, the arms.
Yeah, isn't that funny?
Fun. SpongeBob-looking arms.
Loyal to the Duke of Gloucester, Howard was responsible for tower security when the princes vanished. After Richard III was appointed king, he granted Howard the Norfolk estate and title, which had just previously belonged to his 9-year-old disappeared nephew.
I see.
So there's motive there, because after the boys go away, then suddenly John Howard gets a nice promotion.
Yeah.
As noted earlier, it's possible that Richard III spared his nephews entirely, locking them up in secret for the 2 years that he ruled. Which brings us to our second culprit. It could have fallen to Richard's own usurper, Henry VII, to kill the boys to rid himself of additional rivals. The first Tudor king married his cousin, the lost prince's older sister, Elizabeth of York, to solidify his claim and symbolize the end of the conflict.
God, a lot of consequential fucking back then.
Absolutely. Our third culprit is Margaret Beaufort.
Whoa!
Mother of Henry VII, grandmother of Henry VIII, great-grandmother of Queen Elizabeth I.
Wow.
The cunning Lancaster matriarch had a loyal network of spies, and some theorize she schemed to be rid of the princes and arranged the marriage to ensure her family's path to the throne was clear. Now we all say, "Thank you, Mother."
Oh, thank you, Mother. Sure.
Thank you, Mother.
Thank you, Mother.
Thank you, Mother.
Okay, why am I saying that?
I don't know. It's a thing that the children say. Yeah. At last, the warring houses of York and Lancaster were united, and Henry VII designed. Do you see it, Ryan?
Yeah. A hat.
The Tudor rose as his emblem, a symbolic fusion of the white rose of York and the red rose of Lancaster, representing the peace and unity he sought to establish when he kissed his cousin.
The peace and unity written in the red blood of children.
That's right. What do you think of that one? Think it could be anything? I mean,
Sure.
This is all
Howard Hugh will be acting on his own autonomy there.
Howard would be on orders of Richard III.
Okay, so kind of a combination of theory 1 and 2 then.
Correct.
I see.
As glaring as this one seems to be, these all seem pretty possible.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, moving along to the third theory. Richard's return?
Return of the Dick.
Not the Richard you're thinking of, though. Of course, there was Richard, the nasty uncle. But let's keep in mind that Edward IV had 2 sons.
That's right.
There was the eldest, young Edward V.
Yes.
And then there was little Richard. Not that little Richard.
Yeah. That'd be crazy. He's a time traveler.
Good golly, miss. Oh, it is. Anyway, now in 1491, a man named Perkin Warbeck asserted that he was the now grown lost prince Richard of Shrewsbury, Duke of York. Since Edward V was still presumed deceased, he was the true successor to the throne. Now, Warbeck carried himself with the mannerisms of royalty. He looked like his alleged father, Edward IV. And he claimed to have escaped the tower and spent years on the run, living secretly in royal courts across Europe, claiming that his aunt, Margaret, Duchess of Burgundy, brought him into her home. Now, Henry VII began hunting him down, as you would, and Warbeck hid out in France. In retaliation, Henry VII barred English merchants from trading with the Holy Roman Empire. Warbeck tried several times to invade England with backing from Irish and Scottish allies, but in 1497, he was finally captured by Henry VII. Now, Warbeck never met with his alleged older sister, Elizabeth. He was instead beaten to a pulp and forced to confess that he was not Richard. Eventually, he was moved back to the Tower, with which he may or may not have already been intimately familiar, and was executed in 1499. To this day, the truth of Warbeck's identity is still debated.
So Richard was out in the forest, met a warthog and a meerkat, and was eating worms and grub, hiding away the fact that he's king.
Yes! Yes! And then, just like at the end of The Lion King, when Simba was brutally executed,
Yes.
that's exactly what happened to him.
I think it's crazy that if you're in line for the throne, you can't just have like a legal document drawn up where you're like, I don't want to be king. Signed, I'm gonna go chill.
I think they tried to do that, but it didn't always work. He certainly changed his name to something that's like the least royal sounding thing.
Yeah, Perkin Warbeck.
Perkin Warbeck.
Yeah, that's true.
King called Perkin.
Yeah.
Do you see a resemblance here? His alleged father, Edward IV, and he sort of looking like Kathy Najimy.
Well, going off the fact that these are both drawings, you could make anybody look like anybody, but I guess, yeah, sure.
I guess all of these people look similar.
They all look like Lord Farquaad.
And most of England is related to each other. And that brings us to our final theory. Mysterious death? Yes.
Jesus Christ, that photo.
In 1674, 2 sets of children's bones were discovered beneath a staircase in the White Tower in the Tower of London. Seeing as this was the last recorded place the lost princes were known to be held, it led to obvious speculation that the boys' remains had finally been found. Now, the royal family, delighted by the discovery, gave the bodies a proper burial at Westminster Abbey, seemingly without asking too many questions. An urn was commissioned, this big old thing right there, with a Latin inscription reading, and buckle up because this is, as you can see, quite a lengthy inscription. Here lie the relics of Edward V, King of England, and Richard, Duke of York, these brothers being confined in the Tower of London and there stifled with pillows, were privately and meanly buried by the order of their perfidious uncle, Richard the Usurper, whose bones long inquired after and wished for after 191 years in the rubbish of the stairs, those lately leading to the chapel of the White Tower, were on the 17th day of July 1674 by undoubted proofs discovered being buried deep in that place. Charles II, a most compassionate prince, pitying their severe fate, ordered these unhappy princes to be laid amongst the monuments of their predecessors, 1678, in the 30th year of his reign.
Okay, so that pretty much
Sums it up.
I mean, that has to be true then if it's on the fucking urn, right?
Yeah, I mean, possibly, but again, it seems like truth sort of shifts based on whoever's in power.
Gotcha.
Which is unfortunate. When certain kings take over, maybe they want to cast other kings in different lights, you know?
I have to say, if I died because my uncle suffocated me with a pillow, I wouldn't want on my tombstone, this guy got suffocated by his uncle with a pillow.
Smothered by his uncle.
Do something else, like he liked the color green, or, you know, he loved Zelda.
Yeah. I'll make a note of that when your uncle kills you.
Good, good, good.
Just to be sure, on July 6, 1933, the urn was reopened by scientists and historians to confirm that the remains were, in fact, human. Oops, it's a dog.
Yeah, these are boys.
Happily and sadly, it was determined that the bones belonged to 2 children, possibly the disappeared princes, though, once again, how can we know for certain?
Can't you do the DNA test?
You'd think they could do that. I don't know. I don't know what you can do with bones.
Well, in a country that's so obsessed with lineage and like tracing things back, you would think they could trace that lineage.
They could take those bones and grind them up and put them in some kind of blender or something.
I mean, they were 23andMeing before we were even fucking doing it. So like, I can't imagine that they can't trace that back. You have the bones, just
You got the
like,
bones, do the work. Maybe they didn't want to know, you know? I don't know.
It's also funny to say mysterious death when there's a tombstone that says, this guy did it.
They were smothered by a man.
This guy.
Kind of cocky to bury them, though, in the tower.
Probably the best place to do it. Last place you'd look.
That's a good point. It clearly was.
Yeah.
Because they didn't find him for 191 years.
Yeah, it took a long time.
Yikes.
Yikes indeed.
Sorry to end on this image.
I was about to say, looks like a two-hander there. Because
Well-
who's that guy in the dark?
Huh?
Is that the king?
Oh!
Is that Richard?
Oh, this is scary.
Is Richard just overseeing it?
Yeah, I guess so, maybe.
Yes, yes.
Well, it seems in the case of the lost princes in the tower, their fate and the perpetrator of that fate still remain a mystery, even though it seems like we could probably point some fingers.
It seems like they could probably do some testing on those bones.
Yeah. Cool. I went to the Tower of London recently.
Did you see this urn?
Well, it was after we had decided to do this episode, and I was hunting around for.
You found the skeletons?
I found them. I brought them home. I'm just kidding. So much has happened at the Tower of London. They've got like exhibits everywhere. I couldn't find anything about the boys. Maybe they don't want to talk about the boys, or maybe there's something there about them and I just missed it. But I think I was in the White Tower. Didn't see no boys. Huh. They don't have their skeletons propped up like the Ghost in the Darkness at the Field Museum. You know?
No.
But it's an idea.
Well, I'll bring my spirit box there and see if I could figure anything
That
out.
sounds very respectful. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
Test the bones.
Hey, England, hop on those bones, brother. So this is supposed to get us in sort of that Bigfoot state of mind.
That's correct.
And we're going to mimic the sounds that are allegedly unable to be uttered by human beings.
That's right.